G'day guys, this is The Grow Show. I'm Ben,
I'm Richie.
and this is a short series that we'll be filming this time, but hopefully it's going to be ongoing, and we're just going to be having a friendly chat about growing in general and the urban gardening market and also the hemp industry. So we're going to have myself and Richie talking and various other guests that we hopefully look to interview. Richie, let's go first. Tell us a bit about yourself.
All right, well, thanks, Ben. My name's Richie.
Sydney boy.
Yeah, I'm a Sydney boy, born and raised. Well, firstly, I've been in hydroponics for 8 years, since 2013. I guess we started off as an importing company. Well, basically,
What were you importing?
First thing we did was clothing, actually.
Oh, really?
Some shirts, yeah.
What for?
It was for a footy match, rugby sevens game.
Rugby sevens?
And I got all these shirts in for the fans.
Oh, yeah, right.
And yeah, that was our first gig.
It's not hydroponics.
No, it's not. But
So where'd that come in line?
well, then I had a friend who actually directed us to horticultural products and hydroponic stuff.
What was it specifically?
Actually, specifically it was like LED grow lights, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the first thing we actually got. We started, distributing in that industry, and one thing led to another. Fell in love with horticulture. Fell in love with the industry.
So what about the, we've got Global Gardens, but what other banners fall underneath Global Gardens?
Yeah, so Global Gardens is basically like a house of brands. It's got Soul Fusion, which is for lighting. We've got tents, Hustler Hydroponics. We've got the Grow Vault, which is one of the original 3-compartment grow tents.
Yep. So ones we can have in 2 chambers, 3 chambers, you can have 1 whole chamber.
Yeah, that's correct. That's
Very
correct.
versatile.
We've got
Nutrients?
breeze and fans, sorry?
Fans? Nutrients?
Yeah, breeze and fans.
Yeah, your fans are good. They
the
clip and they hold
the
on.
Verticlip fan.
That's what we want, yeah.
Yeah, that's they're a big seller. We've got Giant Nutrients, which is a brand new nutrient line that we're going to be launching actually over the next month. So
mineral salt range.
Salt range, yeah. Cool. Mineral salt range, yeah.
Very stable in reses.
Yeah, buffered, pH buffered.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Get,
should be a quality
try,
nutrient. Yeah, definitely. There'll be plenty of plenty to go around to people to trial. So yeah.
Is there much in that, like yourself involved in it, or do you have a scientist that's behind that?
We actually we actually manufacture that here in house. The recipe was put together by one of the head agronomists of a large publicly listed company, which I don't want to necessarily mention just in case for safety reasons.
No, understandable. Look, at the end of the day, we're all feeding them it's the same ratios that are required, isn't it? So it's just
more or less
a formula.
That's right. Well, it's just I guess choosing more pure ingredients, more quality top shelf ingredients. The purer the elements you can get, the better. Also water purification. Yeah. Well,
you don't just set up a tent with a grow light, do you? You require the other things. So in your research, you realise that those things are necessary, and there's a common link to them. So let's talk about it from a tent setup, because you kind of do cover all of those aspects, I guess. So if you look at it from a tent setup point of view, let's start at your grow bags. You guys, that's one of the brands.
Yeah, the grow bags. Okay. So I think the biggest advantage about the grow bags is the aeration to the root zone.
Do they grow through, and then so as the roots pop out, they'll then die off, or are they?
Basically, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Because when the roots sense low humidity outside the pot, it basically
air
prunes itself, basically. Yeah. So then what that does is it encourages there now more root growth to come. So instead of having like one root that just keeps growing forever, like in a plastic pot, causing eventually root bound, you would get these roots that now will just keep growing and stack up on top of each other, almost like just heaps of hair. They'll just cover that whole pot atmosphere, but the correct conditions outside the pot, for instance, if it's like in water or there's soil underneath the pot, it will then eventually go through the bag.
It'll seek it.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got our grow bag. So let's talk setup. We got a tent. It's obviously where your grow bag goes into. So what tents have we got?
So we've got the Grow Vault, which is a 3-compartment in one grow tent.
Is it Hustler Hydro? Yeah.
It's by Hustler Hydro, which is actually the brand, but the product is called.
So that's I can pull it out and use it a whole compartment, or I can split it down over one.
Yeah, that's right, because there's a
on the
wall actually that divides the main compartment, which is, I guess, people would maybe do their flowering, and on the side you'll have an extra 300 mil, and whatever height that the tent is.
Can I put a shelf in there or something? Or
there is actually already a shelf there.
Oh, there is, cool.
With a grill that is optional as well. You can always take that out. You can even remove the wall that divides the two separate rooms and use it as one big grow tent with an optional shelf.
Yeah, okay, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah, but with the compartments, I guess with the wall there, you would have, say, a cloning propagation section, a veg section, and in the main area you'd have
because as much as people don't like to admit it, you could put your dehumidifier down in that bottom section and then have your propagation up the top.
That's right.
Nice clean work environment to manoeuvre around in.
Yeah, that's
right. A
right.
lot of people try to jam everything in there.
You can even use the shelf in there
as
to potentially put the dehumidifier.
Well, you see some people like to keep it all contained. Some people have it set up in their house. They might be propagating arids or various different other plants, anthuriums, and that's their sort of side gig, and they sell those online, and they like everything to be stored in there, which is understandable, so it's a good option. Am I going to get one to open up in the shop? Or take home?
I think I've already given you one.
Yeah, no, well, you know,
I think it's been sitting there at the fucking...
You're not meant to do that, you're meant to go, yeah, and pretend like you're a nice guy. They don't need to know the truth that I've done nothing with it. What are you doing to me?
Every time I go there, it's sitting.
Next point. Okay, so we've got our tents covered. Everything's fueled by our nutrient range, our giant nutrients. What are we powering it with? What's our sun?
Okay, with our sun we've got the Sol Fusion range, which right now we're big on the LEDs actually. We've got the Samsung LM301H, the latest Samsung horticultural chips.
The Osram Hyper Reds.
And also the Osram Hyper Reds. We got those for the 660 nanometer diodes that we have on our lights. We got three different forms or designs of LED.
Of the quantum boards.
Well, we got the LED light bars. We have the quantum boards, and we have the what is it? Well, I guess everyone calls it the spider style or fluent style.
Yeah,
is the bar 6 bars.
6 bar,
yeah,
pretty
basically.
common. Yeah, it's a good light. I'm going to do a bit of testing on it later. I'd put some numbers on it. Don't need to lie. We have a spectrometer to keep everyone truthful.
That's right.
But no, they perform.
Hide.
Well, that's the truth about it. You put all of these under the light, and they all perform very well. Yours does. It outperforms in the top end of the numbers. They all have different qualities, different traits. We'll have a look into that. That's part of the fun.
I think in terms of intensity and performance, LEDs have definitely hit a sort of a midpoint.
Yeah.
So whereas before there was a much larger variance between expensive brands and cheaper brands, but now they're sort of having a midpoint. I think the difference is maybe the longevity, its durability within the humid climates. For instance, some of these LEDs don't have
IP67 rating.
Yeah, different IP ratings on them, and the chips themselves have, well, Samsung compared to generic ones.
There's different bin levels.
Different bins. That's right.
Out of the factory, because essentially, if you think about it, all of them come from the same factory. As in, that's not the statement about the design or the drivers, but if you have Samsung chips and you have Osram chips, then essentially they came from the same factory. And there are different levels of those
different
Samsung.
bins. Yeah, that's right.
So you can get a Samsung chip, but it can be a lower bin, and then you're not going to see the same performance, or maybe not the same longevity, and that is what you're kind of talking about.
That's correct.
There's other things too, like
the design and how they're put together, the size of the heat sinks,
the particular use of the driver, and then how it relates to the chip itself. So some people will actually
compatibility of the chip.
Some people will not use the Samsung chip and take that risk, and it's not necessarily that that's a worse chip, and they might then use a driver that's specific, and they do that because they know that they can get a better performance out of it. I mean, your drivers, you're using your Meanwell drivers in your Samsung and your Osrams.
Yeah, we have Meanwell and we have SoSen as well.
SoSen for
which
the
is a
680.
publicly listed company. It's probably like second to third biggest. I think they've even overtaking Meanwell.
That's the thing, but I think a lot of people get caught up on this. The mean wells are the standard, so you've already hit the mark with that, I guess. But
one of the older companies, I think it's.
Well, at the end of the day, you've
in
got
the 70s.
two numbers on there, and realistically, that's what's actually should be dictating your choice, and that's your fixture efficiency and your U moles per meter square, U moles J.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
realistically, if they have those adequate numbers, then the light is going to perform. As far as spectrums go, it is interesting. It's just seen from my spectrometer. You put that under the sun, and you get huge spikes in all the different spectrums. Plus, you get your UVB as well. And then you look at our lights underneath the spectrometer now, and they have got their big spikes in the blue because they have completed all their R&D on the blues, and they're about as efficient as they're going to get, or the white with the phosphor over it.
Yeah.
And then the reds themselves are now at about 56% with your Osrams. And they're the highest. No one else is actually kind of near them, so they're definitely the standards for the reds. But even still, the R&D that needs to go into them, it's not there, and that's where it's all going to at the moment. But how many years are we off them being there? And then once they're done, then they'll look at the ambers and the greens and start to decide, because it's also stated that the sun's all those spectrums might not be necessary. So we're in a very
there was an
early
argument. I remember there was the argument with the blurple LEDs, how they were saying, that the plant just needs. The reason why these people were selling blurple lights, they were saying because the plant needs red and blue light, like as in like the photosynthetically active radiation or activity that's going on was highest with with blue and red, right? But we know now that they were saying that
because it suits the sales of their light.
Exactly, just because it suits their marketing, because the technology couldn't produce more full spectrum with greens and that. So then they were saying that green, you don't need green. It doesn't have much of effect on photosynthesis.
Yeah, well, they're saying that green doesn't affect plants at all.
Which is why have even night lights. They're green. The ones that they you probably have in your shop. I don't know, but
your work light.
I think. See, that's the thing.
But there's other spectrums that they won't look into till they've done.
I remember touching up on the green spectrum, and to debunk that, whether or not. And I remember reading up saying that that it still does use the green spectrum.
Yeah,
like
there are.
But it's an auxiliary.
Yeah, so the funny part is part of the white having a phosphor over it. What that does is, as the white light passes through that phosphor, there's a reaction that occurs, and there is actually an efficiency loss to that, so that you do lose a bit of efficiency out of the light. But what that does is it gives you your high blue spike. It also then helps to fill out the greens and the ambers in between and give you that smooth sort of curve through the center, and it also then gives you the added red. So the reds have their spike, but that red's added to from that conversion that comes through the phosphor. So that's actually why they use that. They could just make blue LEDs specifically, which they did look into doing that, but they realized the best way to do it was to do the white with the phosphor over it. So now where they're at, they do know that all those other spectrums are relevant, but they're not quite sure, but they've identified that initially the blue was the one that they wanted to work on, because that was what was missing from your HID. HIDs clearly give you your red and your ambers, and the HIDs work because there's a lot of activity, a lot of photosynthetic activity occurring. So when you go to your LEDs, it's a lot more concentrated, and that wasn't there. But your current LEDs are starting to fill those spectrums through. I mean, at the end of the day, we're replicating nature, and nature's a very, very formidable beast to try and, try and tame.
That's correct.
So, look, it'll be a long run. The fun thing is, do HIDs work? They absolutely do. Guarantee you they work. Do LEDs work? They most certainly do as well. Is one better than the other? It's shown that LEDs...
Different times, different purposes.
Well, HIDs have reached the ceiling, whereas LEDs are now still only just at the point where they're starting to look into the different spectrums. They're only hitting the reds, so there's a long way to go for LEDs. But you're talking... I think this started, and I could stand corrected, I'm pretty sure research into the blues started in about the late 60s to early 70s and finished about 2016, which meant that all the R&D switched over to the reds. So if you look at that timeline, and obviously the increase of various different technological advancements is going to help it, but if you look at that time, 2016 to now, probably got another 30 years before the reds are complete. and then they look at the other colours. So it's a very interesting field. There's a lot of rabbit holes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
definitely
conjecture and mistruths and.
Yeah.
All right, so we should probably just define the difference between HID, that being CMH, and HPS and LED, I guess. So.
Yeah.
You
You got
do it, or me do it, or?
CMH and HPS, metal halide, MH.
High pressure sodium.
Yep, they all fall under HID,
Mm-hmm.
which basically means high intensity discharge.
Very good. Tick.
And yes, and I guess that's
and then LED is LED. It's the new kids on the block, isn't it?
light emitting diode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of an efficiency difference. They say that your HPS and CMH sit around about 20% efficiency, and LEDs are about 80%. So CMH and HPS throw a lot of the heat energy up, whereas downwards, and your LEDs throw their energy up. Normally it's because they direct that energy with fans or big heat sinks. Everyone's sort of turning away from fans, aren't they?
Just less moving parts, less things to go wrong.
Less power draw as well.
Yeah, less power draw, less noise.
It's not necessary, but as well. And that's another thing actually that's probably very important. First things first, let's do tips. So if we've got HID, your globes are going to wear and deteriorate. So you could bring them into my shop if you like, and we'll test them with a spectrometer. Or you can just follow the rule of thumb, where roughly every 3 grows or so, every 9 months, change them out. And then they get a new set. They'll start to wear thin by the end of that 3rd grow, and you'll just notice a slight reduction in overall light intensity. You might not even necessarily pick it up, but if you put a spectrometer under it, you will notice that there will be a difference. So it'll be a reduced PPFD.
Yeah, it's definitely some depreciation.
And LEDs are good for about 5 years or 50,000 hours is what they say. So they're not an infinite thing.
Yeah,
they do have their lifetime, as all things do.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So that's one of the probably important things I'd say people need to know about that. Actually, you know what? HIDs work and LEDs work. The reality of it is you can choose what you'd like to work with, and there's going to be certain features that are going to be beneficial. You're going to use, even if you need an air conditioner and a dehumidifier and a humidifier, they're required tools. But you're going to use a lot less of them under LEDs because you obviously haven't got them running to compensate for the heat.
Dealing with less heat, that's right.
So on the days that's not a heat wave day, they might not even be on, whereas they're always on in your HID rooms, aren't they?
Definitely.
In summer.
Yeah.
But then again, in winter, your HID is doing a good job of keeping things warm.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas with the LEDs, you may need a heat bar to compensate for that loss of heat.
It's unheard of.
So yeah, it's different times, different different times of the year, and different purposes as well.
Well, I suppose that's why you got all the different ranges you got as well. So.
Yeah, that's right. Just covering all aspects.
Got a lot of competition too, don't you? There's a lot of variety across the market.
There is a lot of variety.
What do you find the difference too is between like there's brands that have the cheaper end of the scale, and obviously all lighting's at the higher end of the scale. I know why. Obviously, is there any?
I mean, it's definitely the competition there is definitely fierce. Their prices are very low, especially online. But there will always be advantages to having a locally designed, proper local quality control, I guess, with a local warranty. So these are the differences, and the fact that, we when manufacturing and designing these lights, we put in
putting the Soul Fusion brand on the actual.
Yeah, well, we put the brand on it, but the main thing is, by putting our brand on it, we want to make sure that it's going to be going to perform and it's going to last as well.
Yeah.
So
so you've got a guy that actually designs and R&Ds your lights, and then you get them built on a mass scale, and that's the way. So they're not just an off-the-shelf option with Soul Fusion slapped on it. There is a specific, unique design.
That's right.
It is seen. The first thing I did when I got your light is I pulled the thing apart to have a look at the connectors on it.
Yeah.
They're nice connectors. No one else would say that to you, would they? They are nice. They're really good. He used the fancy black ones. You could use cheap ones. I was impressed.
Yeah.
I was going to be like negative towards your stuff. I was like, no, it's pretty good.
Yeah, we're definitely happy with these quantum boards.
They're good. The quantum boards are interesting because there's an open patent on it, isn't it? So it means that everyone's got the similar sort of idea, but
Design,
then
yeah, but there's just
you play
little
around with heat
differences.
sinks
Like,
and-
well, with the heat sink, ours each panel's 1.4 kilograms.
yeah,
Whereas I've seen a lot of the ones on the market, especially these cheap ones online, they either have a very light heat sink to
Yeah.
even no heat sink till it's just the aluminium plate.
yeah, just whack straight on
So,
there.
you know, that's yeah.
You
there's
get
some of the
great,
differences.
fun electric shocks through those quite often.
Sure, yeah. Well, there's
There's certain
Definitely
companies that
high
provide electric
hazards.
shocks with their equipment.
Yeah.
I've tested it. It's good.
yeah, there's
Um,
bonuses.
yeah, okay. So if you have a lot that's not certain, not fact, so we'll try and get the right people in to talk about that. I'd like to state something too. We are enthusiasts who love this industry, and our levels of knowledge and experience are just us having a chat, and we offer what we know, and hopefully we'll be able to provide the other people to fill in the facts in between.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's what this
what
show
this
is
is
about. Yeah. Jinx.
Fake it till you make it.
There you go.
No? So, speaking of LEDs, for the old school people, we've got HID as well.
Yeah, we got the 315 CMH and the 630 CMH.
Okay.
Which
and
is a-
why are we preferring, what's ideal or what's the pros for having a CMH?
Well, the way I see it, it's like a stepping stone before LED. It's a high intensity discharge bulb.
Okay, so you've got your CMH. Now, what is desirable in a CMH? Obviously, a higher blue
Well,
spectrum.
That's correct.
And
But compared to a HPS lamp, the CMH has a much broader spectrum.
yeah, right.
So instead of just having the reds like the HPS does,
Yeah,
it's
the
got
high
the
spike.
blues as well.
yeah,
So basically, it's why it has a higher CRI, which can go anywhere up to 90.
yeah. Well, your HPSs are like low, the 16 to 18,
16
20
to
or so.
20, yeah, that's
something like
correct.
that.
Yeah. So basically, that's the benefit. One of the benefits of the CMH.
And still the same high activity, or like a lot of photons moving around that you get.
They're a little bit more efficient.
Yeah,
So that pretty much with, say, about 40% more efficient. So with 60% of the wattage, you're getting the same amount of light intensity as a HPS, for
Yeah.
instance. With 315 watts, you're roughly achieving the same intensity as anywhere between a 400 to 600. Let's just say 500 watts of HPS light.
yeah. So this is your miles J you're referring to, is it, I guess?
Well, this is just light intensity PPFD, yeah.
PPFD,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
par.
Right. Your par,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all right. No, that's cool. I think it is U moles J actually. Is that right? That is just the two efficiency numbers. I think it is U moles. And your balusters generally, apart from the 630s and that, they're normally part of the hood too, aren't they? They're normally a little bit more
Or you have
compact.
both options with CMH, as you would,
Okay.
I guess, with the HPS, depending on the manufacturer and design. But
yeah.
we have both options. We've got the
The
sole
DA.
unit, which is
Yep.
which is all in one unit, and the where the ballast is actually inbuilt
Mhm.
to the shade.
Mhm.
And we do have the other option where you can actually detach the ballast from the shade, and it has an extension cord which comes with the unit, the kit,
Mm.
and you can therefore put your ballast outside your grow room, which I guess is
Yeah, a lot of people
removing
like to
heat,
wire everything on
removing
boards.
more heat, removing wires.
Yeah. That just makes sense, doesn't it? You never know what happens in there too, especially if you're running reses, end up spraying the place. So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, it's always disasters.
Yeah, they're inevitable.
Expect the worst.
Yeah, that's right. Prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
Expect the best.
Okay, so you got your HID low. We've talked about your LED options as well.
Yeah.
We're going to need to have obviously fans. So you get two fans normally. You got
Yep.
one that's going to break down that air pocket that builds up below your lighting, and
the
canopy fan.
main product at the moment under Breezen is the VertiClip fan. Actually, it's one of the first of its kind, a vertical clip fan that it can actually attach
Yeah, they're
to
good.
a vertical pole.
Mm.
I guess would be in tent poles.
The problem I've noticed with other brands that shall remain nameless is the design on them doesn't actually, they clamp on, and then the moment you close the tent, and then you obviously have to run negative pressure and your tent sucks in. As it sucks in, that puts pressure on the clamp and it pops off. So it's not necessarily the fan doesn't work, but the design of it's hasn't been well looked at, which is obviously what you guys focused on. So
Yeah, well, we are looking at redesigning and constantly evolving the design of the fan. A longer arm is
there's warranty,
in,
so they
in
can just bring it back to me, and then
testing.
I'll just charge
Yeah,
it back to you.
yeah, they come with a 6-month warranty. Straight swap over. No issues there, and that goes with all our products that are still under warranty.
What's the warranty on the lighting as well?
3 years.
3 years.
For
That's
our
good.
LEDs, yeah.
Not the 6 months.
No, not the 6 months.
Yeah, oh, that's good. You must
3
stand behind
years.
your products then.
We like to.
Okay, cool. All right. What if it's like a bit dented and stuff, and I've been, no, still that's not good enough, is it?
So it was a bit dented.
Yeah. What if I bring you back one of your lights, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's just the scratch on it. They're like, no.
Well, that's how we usually send them out. So.
Oh, okay, good. All right, sweet. All right, cool. That explains a lot. Yeah. All right, so we got our fans. We've done all of that. That's it for a tent, really. Oh wait, no, we've got the opposite end of things too. Let's go down to Hades and let's talk about the heaters.
Oh yeah, the heaters.
They're an unusual
That's
thing for
another
a
unique
HID
product
fan
that we
to be
have.
talking about.
Well, yeah, basically the heat bars, great at winter.
So there's a lot of, okay, here's the questions I've been hit with these in the shop. Is it going to produce a gas or something that's going to be a byproduct that's going to affect my plants? Is it going to catch on fire? And can I put it in my ducts?
Okay, well, starting with the last question first, you can put it in your duct. And that's what a lot of people do actually, to let some hot air through into the intake.
Control it into the tank.
Yeah, that's right. And the main purpose of these heat bars is just a cheaper alternative, more energy efficient alternative.
Than your standard 2,000 watt oil heaters, which
exactly
are
right.
burners,
and the main
which
purpose,
are way more than your entire setup. To be honest, if you look at the wattage that comes out of it,
it can be double.
Yeah.
With some small LED setups. But yeah, the main purpose is just to avoid that frosty period where you can get to those below 15 degrees sometimes at night, and you want to avoid cold stressing your plants. And that's what it's all about. So with the heat
keep them
bar,
growing, don't you? You don't want them to cease growing and stop and go into dormancy or anything like that, because that's what they naturally do outside, and that's what we're trying to control. What about the structure of the business? What is actually happening with your structure in the company?
Okay, so basically we focus on the manufacturing and wholesaling side of things. So I guess our key focus is just to get innovative, quality products to the market, and we basically partner with the shops, and basically, our goal is to distribute the products to them. They take care of the sales, but we just take care of curating the technology.
Yeah, it's quite good. It's good to be able to talk to you regularly and feed you ideas as well about, I want to see this on the next range. And
well, that's it. Customer feedback is definitely key.
Important.
Yeah, it's definitely key in regards to innovation.
So what's in store for the future for, I guess, Global Gardens, and are there new brands that are coming to the edition? You got any new guys?
Yes, we do have a new brand actually. We're going to have a whole range of accessories. They're going to be coming out. Yeah, basically just filling in the gaps. We're broadening our range.
So what's the future hold for Global Gardens, I guess, and then various different brands underneath its umbrella?
Yeah, so basically we've got one more new brand coming out.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's what we're going to put all of our accessories under.
An update for some of the existing brands as well? New models?
Oh yeah, we've got new products coming out for Breezen. We've got new products coming out for basically all the brands.
Anything that's like humidity combined with intake? Or
that
that's
will be
I haven't really seen.
That will eventually be under the Breezen brand, but it's all in the pipeline. One thing at a time, I guess.
Okay, well tell me about that, because the humidity control is kind of separate. A lot of people go to another shop to buy a dehumidifier or a humidifier, so if you could combine that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Talk
it
about
hasn't
this
been done
after,
yet, but
yeah, do this first. Yeah, all right. So that's pretty cool. It's all happening. What about expansion outside of Australia, or is it all just here?
Yeah, we would like to look at international markets a bit later on, but I think first we'll just plant our feet firmly.
Sounds good.
in the Australian market first, and
Yeah.
then we can have a look at
And so you do
branching off.
obviously deal with me a lot, but you when COVID's done, you'll be travelling around. You deal with a lot of different shops around Australia, and
Yeah, well, we used before COVID hit, we used to do the rounds say twice a year. We used to go to Brisbane, Victoria. Earlier this year, we managed to make a trip to Adelaide.
where we for an expo or something.
And we went for an expo there. Yep, the Mind, Body and Soul Expo. Mind, Body and Psychic is what it's called.
Adelaide's a bit of fun, isn't it? How's you?
Yeah, oh, it was definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it
There's
was
a good community down there, especially with your growers community. It's interesting. It's good. It's interesting in Australia because it's a mixed bunch, and a lot of people learn from talking to someone who's passing it on. It's probably the most. Well, that was the way I learned the quickest. A lot of YouTube, but YouTube's a great place to get a lot of questions, not necessarily answers. So, is there an education thing from you guys? Some sort of global garden?
Well, yeah. I mean, this talk show.
Yeah, well,
this is another
even on the
thing.
website,
I mean,
or
yeah, this will be on our YouTube channel, Global Gardens AU. I guess you can catch all the videos. You can write in, even you can get feedback.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Feedback,
actually.
ask questions, anything you want us to talk about, and any professionals or experts that you want us to get on the show.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, good talking points as well. Yeah, make
Yeah.
our life easy. Tell us what you want to see and we'll do it.
Yeah, that's right.
That's actually a really good idea, especially the Q&A. I think we should do that in between the next shoot. We'll send a few out.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Are we touched on everything? Are you? Your story's detailed. My shop's still just beginning.
Still forming
Yeah.
its story.
I got a hyperlapse of the nursery. I'll put that up soon.
Yeah,
A lot of work went into
that's
that.
another thing that everybody should watch out for is the nursery that's going to be up and running soon
Yeah.
at the shop. So we'll have a lot more content, a lot more grow tips, a lot more grow hacks.
I'll just come in and see that scale of setup, see the Quest running, see the humidifiers and the way we control humidity. It's a great platform to see the bigger ticket items actually functioning.
Yeah, that's right. To see every element. Working every element in the grow room. To the T.
All right, so we'll probably finish up. Is there anything else you want to tell us about Global Gardens? Any other cool stuff?
I'd just like to let any Australian innovators know that if they have any products that they want to see come into fruition, to email us in at info@globalgardens.co, and we'll take a look and see if we can make it viable.
So it's open to everyone, big dogs, little dogs, anyone with an idea.
Anyone with an idea.
Cool. All right, so how do we contact Global Gardens? Have you got some...
So you can either email us in at info@globalgardens.co, or you can check out our Instagram, that's Global Gardens AU, and you can send us a message.
All right, that was pretty fun.
All right, that's a wrap.
That's it, let's do it. Let's get out of here. See ya.